By late 1944, American forces in the Pacific were within striking distance of the Philippines, long occupied by Japan. The islands were strategically vital. They connected Japan with the oil fields of the Dutch East Indies and served as a key hub for resources. General Douglas MacArthur, who had retreated from the Philippines in 1942, had pledged to return, and now U.S. planners resolved to make good on his promise. Throughout the summer, debate raged among Allied commanders about where best to strike next. Eventually, MacArthur's plan to land on the southern island of Mindanao before moving on to Leyte was approved. Leyte would open the way to Manila, the Philippine capital, and isolate Japanese positions across the archipelago. To support the landings, Admiral William Halsey's powerful Task Force 38 launched sweeping air raids that destroyed nearly 500 Japanese aircraft. Resistance appeared minimal, and in early September, Halsey recommended moving up the invasion schedule. The Joint Chiefs agreed, shifting the Leyte landing from December to October. This rapid change strained logistics. The 7th Fleet, with its older battleships and escort carriers, would protect the landings, but with monsoon rains limiting land-based air support, MacArthur demanded additional cover from Halsey's carriers. Fleet Commander Chester Nimitz agreed, but also ordered Halsey to attack the Japanese fleet if the chance presented itself. MacArthur, who strictly controlled communications between the fleets, was unaware of this instruction. Meanwhile, the Japanese prepared their own counterstroke. Their strategy, known as Shaw 1 or Victory 1, was built around defending the Philippines at all costs. Despite heavy losses in ships, planes, and trained pilots, they still possessed powerful battleships, including the enormous Yamato class, and hoped a decisive battle could shift momentum. Yet rivalry between Army and Navy, fuel shortages, and dispersed deployments made coordination difficult.
Admiral Soimu Toyoda, commander of the combined fleet, expected the Americans to target Leyte. He divided his forces into 3 major groups. The first diversionary force, under Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita, included the battleships Yamato and Musashi and would attack through the San Bernardino Strait. A southern group, under Vice Admirals Nishimura and Shima, would approach via Surigao Strait. Finally, Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa's depleted carrier force would serve as bait, hoping to draw Halsey's carriers away from Leyte. The plan was complex, dependent on timing, and many Japanese officers doubted its success. By the time their fleet reached Leyte, American troops would already be ashore in strength. Still, Toyota ordered Show 1 into motion. Before Leyte, air battles erupted over Formosa. From October 12, Halsey's carriers struck Japanese bases, launching over 1,300 sorties in a single day. Inexperienced Japanese pilots, flying in disorganized formations, were massacred by U.S. fighters. Although they managed to damage 2 American cruisers, Japan lost nearly 500 aircraft in a week, losses they could not replace. Despite this setback, Toyota pressed ahead. On October 17, MacArthur's forces began landing on Leyte. The Japanese fleets prepared to converge. Kurita sailed from Brunei on October 22, but his force immediately suffered. American submarines ambushed his fleet in the Palawan Passage, sinking 2 cruisers and damaging another. The next day, U.S. aircraft from Task Force 38 attacked Kurita in the Sibuyan Sea. The main target was the massive battleship Musashi, one of the heaviest warships ever built. Wave after wave of dive bombers and torpedo planes struck her. Despite valiant damage control, she absorbed at least 16 bombs and 11 torpedoes before capsizing with over 1,000 crew. Kurita briefly retreated, leading the Americans to believe his force was shattered. In reality, most of his ships remained intact.
While Kurita advanced from the north, Nishimura's southern force steamed towards Surigao Strait. There, Rear Admiral Jesse Oldendorf prepared an ambush with 6 battleships, 8 cruisers, and dozens of destroyers and PT boats. During the night of October 24-25, U.S. torpedo attacks sank 2 Japanese destroyers and heavily damaged Nishimura's column. Then American battleships, some salvaged from Pearl Harbor, crossed the T of the Japanese formation, pounding them with overwhelming firepower. Both of Nishimura's battleships, Yamashiro and Fuso, were sunk. Shima's support force arrived late, briefly engaged, and quickly withdrew. Surigao Strait was a decisive American victory, the last battleship-to-battleship action in history. The real crisis came to the north. Kurita, having regrouped, passed through San Bernardino Strait undetected, and at dawn on October 25 encountered the small escort carriers and destroyers of Taffy 3 off Samar. Both sides were shocked. Kurita had expected fleet carriers, while the Americans had not anticipated Japanese battleships. Outgunned, Rear Admiral Clifton Spragg ordered his escort carriers to flee while launching every available plane, armed or not. He directed his destroyers to charge the Japanese fleet in desperate torpedo attacks. The destroyers Hull, Johnston, and Samuel B. Roberts fought with extraordinary bravery, engaging battleships many times their size. Johnston, under Commander Ernest Evans, pressed home attacks until sunk. Evans received a posthumous Medal of Honor. Carrier aircraft, flying repeated sorties with whatever weapons they had, harassed the Japanese relentlessly. Despite sinking 1 U.S. carrier and several destroyers, Kurita grew confused. Believing he faced a larger fleet and fearing airstrikes, he abruptly withdrew. His retreat spared the invasion force at Leyte from annihilation. The defense of Samar became one of the U.S. Navy's most heroic episodes.
Meanwhile, to the north, Halsey had taken the bait. Pursuing Ozawa's decoy carriers, he stripped San Bernardino Strait of protection. On October 25, Task Force 38 launched massive strikes that sank Zuikaku, Japan's last surviving Pearl Harbor carrier, along with 3 light carriers and a destroyer. Yet Halsey's decision left Kurita free to reach Samar. Only Kurita's own withdrawal prevented disaster. The Battle of Leyte Gulf also witnessed the first organized kamikaze attacks. Japanese commanders, recognizing their dwindling strength, began deliberately sending pilots on suicide missions. On October 25, kamikazes struck U.S. ships off Leyte, sinking the escort carrier St. Lo. These tactics reflected desperation. Though initially effective, kamikazes could not alter the course of the war. Allied improvements in radar, fighter interception, and anti-aircraft defenses soon reduced their effectiveness. Still, they inflicted serious losses and foreshadowed the ferocity of battles to come, especially at Okinawa. By the battle's end, the Japanese had lost 4 carriers, 3 battleships, 10 cruisers, and 11 destroyers, nearly half the forces committed. Around 13,000 sailors were dead. The U.S. lost 1 light carrier, 2 escort carriers, 2 destroyers, and several hundred aircraft, with about 3,000 men killed. Leyte Gulf was the largest naval battle in history, involving nearly 300 American and 70 Japanese ships across 4 simultaneous engagements. Strategically, it was a crushing defeat for Japan. Their navy, once a formidable rival, was now shattered and incapable of major operations. The path to liberating the Philippines and isolating Japan from vital resources was clear.
Yet, controversy lingered. Many criticized Halsey for abandoning San Bernardino Strait, nearly dooming the invasion force. Supporters argued he acted on the information he had, believing Kurita destroyed. The battle exposed the complexities of divided command between Nimitz, MacArthur, and Halsey, as well as the fog of war that clouded decision-making. For the Japanese, Leyte Gulf symbolized both courage and futility. Their hopes for a decisive battle were rooted in outdated doctrine that ignored American industrial and logistical superiority. Admirals like Kurita spoke of dying gloriously, but the result was strategic collapse. For the Americans, the battle was a testament to adaptability and courage. From the ambush at Surigao Strait to the desperate stand off Samar, U.S. sailors and pilots fought with determination that turned the tide. The victory secured the Philippines, hastened Japan's isolation, and marked the effective end of the Imperial Japanese Navy as a fighting force.